Welcome back. Tactical Tuesday with Johnny Tiger. The date is February 28, 2023. And I know I just committed cold-blooded murder on our good friend Bruce over here. That's okay. Bruce is very used to my various violent outbursts. Today, we're going to talk about a little knife uh, technique. I don't want to call it knife fighting technique because, as I have mentioned on this channel many, many times, if you go out there and thinking that you are going to become this great knife fighter, and whenever someone have a knife, they're going to give you somehow they're going to give you a chance to pull out your knife, and you're going to have a good old-fashioned knife fighting, and all this thrust and parries, all that cool stuff. You will get yourself killed. Okay, knife fighting, technically speaking, doesn't exist in modern world. It's either they have a knife, they kill you with their knife, or you pull out your knife and defend yourself with a knife when you think you get a good chance before they have their knife in your face. Okay? I talked about this before, and I'm going to mention this again. When they are pointing a gun at your face, when they have a knife coming at you, this is not the time to reach for your knife. That is the worst time. You are going to get killed. Okay? The knife fighting is academic. It's for stage performance, martial art demonstrations, and largely Hollywood. Unless you live in, unless you live in the kind of country that it's kind of still far away from modern society, and you still can say, okay, we have a disagreement. I get my knife, you get your knife. Let's go outside. Okay? Unless you still live in that kind of a country where that is okay. Knife fighting is largely just stage performance or Hollywood. With that said, there are times when you have to defend yourself with something other than your fist, something other than your foot. One of these times may be, there might be five of them. There might be five of them, every one of them bigger than you are, and you don't stand a chance if you try to fight them with your hand. You can't outrun them. They got you boxed into the corner. What are you going to do? Well, in this case, you probably have to just resort to something like this, pull out a knife, right? But you want to do that before they pull out the knife, okay? There are a lot of other things that you need to know about when to pull out a knife, the psychological profile, preparation, and all that stuff you need to be aware of that I have mentioned before on this channel. If you guys are interested to go through those that you haven't or you've forgotten, then go under the playlist called uh, Conventional and Unconventional Weapon on this channel, and you will find all the talks I've done on knife works, and all that stuff. Now, I want to quickly mention, as should be pretty obvious, I am not Doug Marqueta or any of those famous knife fighter or famous knife instructor. I have never killed anybody with a knife, although I did have someone try to kill me with a knife before. That's another story for another day. But I have been working with various weapons for most of my life in martial art context, and I am very, very confident with a knife, as confident as someone who is a broken down, middle aged, blind martial art instructor can be, which is not saying much. Okay? So, you are surrounded by ruffians, or someone is coming at you with a table leg or a baseball bat or a brass knuckle, and you resort to pulling out your knife and you defend yourself adequately. We won't go through all the techniques, obviously, that will take a long time. Uh, and there are many, many, many different ways to use it. But please, if you do carry a knife, I don't care what knife you carry, I don't care if it's legal, illegal, whatever, it's only your own choice. If you carry a knife, please get comfortable holding it, using it, deploying it. Okay, because when you're stressed out, when you're scared, the last thing you want to do is drop your knife, right? When you grab it. And the last thing you want to do is have to fumble for it in your pocket and then take ages to get it out, right? You need to, if you are planning on having this tool save your life one day, this need to be very comfortable. This almost have to be an extension of yourself. You need to know how this works, in, out, sideways. So please, if you carry one, practice, 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 right? Practice, practice, practice. Left hand, right hand, forward grip, commando grip, push grip, switching hand, commando grip, push grip, switching hand. Okay, passing behind your back, passing under your leg. Okay, there's application for all of these things. So okay, let's say you done all that. You pull out your knife, you're defending yourself, and suddenly someone attack you from behind. Because remember, our premise here is there's more than one of them. So you are warding off the person in front of you, and suddenly someone come up behind you and grab your hair, pulling you back, or someone come up and try to do this big choke, throw the arm around your neck. What do you want to do? How are you going to deal with that? Okay, well, this is what we're addressing today. Now, before you do anything, assuming that you react to it, okay, first you need to quickly do an assessment of threat level. Is the person in front of you more scared of you or has weapon? Is the person behind you likely to do more damage or hurt you more? Which one of them is the bigger threat? Because if the person in front of you is a bigger threat, then you really don't want to turn your back on him. So in this case, you might have to make the hard decision of ignoring the person behind you and deal with the person in front of you first. However, if the person in front of you is already sufficiently injured, okay, if the person in front of you is sufficiently scared, doesn't have a weapon, unlikely to do something crazy, and the person behind you is fully healthy at this point, full of energy, not scared, might be smashing you on the head with a beer bottle or trying to hit you with a chair, then you need to turn and deal with that person. Okay, then you need to deal with the person behind you first. But how do we turn? This is one of the very fine details that a lot of people don't think about. Okay, I'm going to walk you through two techniques in dealing with people behind you. First, you never want to turn towards your knife hand. What do I mean by that? If my knife is in my right hand, when I'm ready to turn around, I do not want to spin right. Why is that? Reason number one is I don't really know what's going on behind me at this point. So if I spin right, and since the knife is in my right hand, and the person is already too close, they can actually jam up my arm, and I can't swing. And suddenly I'll find myself get my wrist already grabbed, and I don't have a lot of extension. I don't have a lot of leverage. I'm crowded in here, and I don't want to struggle at this. I don't want to stay here and struggle because don't forget we have another person in front of us the person that we turned away from. If we spend too long here, that person is going to jump back in, and you are going to be in a really bad situation. Right? That is number one. Number two, when you spin around to the knife side, so knife in my right hand, and I spin right to turn around, there's a big chance that the person hit my arm and my knife come back at my face. Right? I don't want that to happen. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. And those are just two of the reasons why you don't want to spin toward your knife side. If your knife is on your right hand, you do not want to spin right. Knife in your left hand, you don't want to spin left. You want to leave your knife hand free to operate and have some margins of error. So in this case, if the person is assaulting me from behind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a fake lunge or a fake attack to my original target, to the person in front of me. Uh, this you can accomplish in various ways. There's no set way for this, whatever comfortable. For me, I like to do big groin kick to the front and then lunge with my knife, punch out forward with the knife. The groin kick, punch with the knife, and as I punch with that forward lunging motion, I'm going to spin. When I spin to the left, my knife is already whipping around in a horizontal stab midline. Okay, this should, in theory, of course, this should give me very adequate protection, force the person in front of me back away from me, and then deal with whoever's behind me with a horizontal stab, either forcing them back or injuring their arm or other important part. Okay, that is way number one of turning around when you're in a knife situation. Right? Turn away from your knife hand, but always do that forward advance, that fake lunge, groin kick, punch forward, whatever you want to do, because you need to force the person in front of you back away from you to give yourself adequate room. You don't want to just spin on the spot. Again, if you just spin on the spot, the person may be already too close and you spin around and they're in your face. Okay, you don't want that. Okay, so always lunge, spin, horizontal stab as you spin. Okay, that is option number one. Option number two, my personal preference, is called the hammer, the cut, and the spike. The hammer, the cut, and the spike. It's actually a little combination that worked very well for me in Krav Maga drills and combat simulations in the past, where it's one person, me, versus like five or six of them. Okay, and suddenly I feel someone behind me and I have to deal with it. How does this work? Okay, this one we are going to actually go to the knife side. Yes, I know. I just talked about not going to the knife side. But that is if you want to do a big spinning around to deal with the person behind you. In the hammer, the cut, and the spike, we are doing something entirely different. Okay? So, how does this work? I'm dealing with the person in front of me. Suddenly, someone come up behind me and either start hitting me on the head, grab my hair, or try to choke me. Okay? I'm going to force the person in front of me back away from me. That groin kick or that push kick to the chest. While I'm doing that, I flip my knife into commando grip, drop my weight, and hammer right down into the kneecap of the person behind me. I'm not aiming for the groin. This is why I drop my weight. I drop my weight and hammer my knife right into the kneecap of the person behind me. With that hammering motion, I spin around, cut upward, spike down into the face. Okay? Very tight turn, very tight motions, but very, very effective. That hit to the kneecap, even if it's not a real knife, even if it's a training knife, will get reaction out of your partner. So again, the person come up behind you, you need to deal with them, throwing out that punch or that kick, drop, hammer into your kneecap, spin, slice up the body, spike down into the face. And that pretty much will put the person behind you out of action. Now, if you go and do this and you end up on murder charges, that's not my responsibility. So please be responsible. I mentioned before, I hate teaching knife work on videos, and I generally just hate teaching knife work because there's just so much that can go wrong. It's so scary. But I feel that we've been talking about self-defense and knives and various self-defense tools on this channel, and you guys really need to know a little bit about how to go about using what you're carrying. I hope you guys find this educational and not overly disturbing. I'll be back again tomorrow for some Wisdom Wednesday, which may turn out to be even more disturbing.